If you truly want Pakistan cricket to improve, we can't be going through to the playoffs or the semi-finals by this Kudrat ke Nizam nonsense.
Bichara Mohammad Haris, no one's even talking about him. Literally the only guy who has a reverse sweep to a fast bowler.
Pakistan sit at the bottom of the World Test Championship table. They have failed to make the final four of the last 3 ODI World Cups. They didn't make it out of the group in the last T20 World Cup, and they're now officially out of the Champions Trophy.
None of this surprises me. We had talked about this in our previous podcast as well. We knew that the talent gulf between the two teams was significant. But what makes me most angry and disappointed is not the fact that our players are or have inferior skills. It's more the fact that we keep getting our strategy wrong. We keep making selection mistakes. We keep making bad decisions on the field. Our experienced players that have been playing cricket for such a long time just keep taking the bad option or the worst option. And I think as a fan, that's probably more infuriating because talent ki koi comparison nahi hai. Like we've talked about it before. The 4 Indian guys that didn't even make it to their playing 11 would walk into this Pakistani side would probably be our 4 best players. Even the guys that were sitting in the VIP boxes, the Indian players, they would walk into this team. Deep down, we all knew that we had an uphill task, beating India after 8 years in an ODI. So it was more hoping against hope. But I think the biggest disappointment lies in the fact that our guys just have a huge stage fright. And anytime there's a big stage, big moment, they just joke and do nothing. And that probably, pisses me off the most. Babar did it against New Zealand in that big run chase where he just, as one of our friend Faizan Rao would put it, hang ho gaya tha, right? So it literally felt कि हमारी टीम हैंग हो गई है, छोटा बच्चा उसको आप स्टेज पे डालते हैं, मेरा बच्चा अपने एनुअल कॉन्सर्ट पे जाता है, नर्वसनेस से खामोश हो जाता है. That's essentially what it looked like. And then yesterday Rizwan did the same thing. This is a moment for you to make an impact. You've been playing international cricket for so long. You're the captain of the team. And then you just go out and dead bat for 10 overs and essentially dig yourself in such a hole that uske baad for Pakistan to post a great total or a decent total rather, you would have to bat at 8 and 9 runs an over. So I don't know why we do this to ourselves where we keep dead batting for 10, 15 overs where we can rotate strike and bat at 4 and 5 and over. Uske baad ek aisi situation mein aa jate hain where you have to slog your way through trouble, which obviously is not our strength. And I think that is obviously something that really frustrates you as a fan. I've seen a lot of fan reactions on Instagram, TikTok, on mainstream TV. And I think that's what's most frustrating for most Pakistani fans is that we are just so timid in all these games, right? And I think Danish can give us thoughts, but I'd like to build on it later as well in terms of how on every big stage, every big event, we've basically just not even showed up, right? And that, again, is something that is so infuriating as a fan. I guess we don't need to repeat what every expert on TV and whatnot is saying, right? The fact that we only went with 1 spinner when India has 4 or 5 spinners, right? But the apni home conditions, even like the UAE is home to us because we played so much cricket there. No team should know these conditions better than Pakistan, and how horribly have we gotten them wrong, right? तो उस बारे में बात करना बेकार है, हर कोई उसी बारे में बात कर रहा है. But even with the playing 11, even with the batting order, even with the decisions that we made against New Zealand, sending Fakhar at 4, all of that crap that we've done, it essentially feels like बिल्कुल कोई unprofessional uncle boomer हमारी team चला रहे हैं. It's not backed by any common sense, any rational, and it's all decisions that are made by inshallah, mashallah, मतलब vibes पे team चल रही है. And in modern day cricket, you just can't even compete, let alone win against really, really good teams that, have think tanks that think through every decision, every selection. It's just not good enough.
I'm with Farooq on this. I wasn't surprised. I know the first episode we said things like, you and I were very optimistic saying Pakistan's going to make it to the finals, but that's because we're Pakistani fans. It stopped there. There was no logic behind any of this. Unless someone played a crazy knock and Shaheen somehow got 3 guys and then Haris didn't bowl at all because he only gives away runs nowadays. But it's not something new, right? We've known this is coming. I think one of the key things is the board. The last time we did something significant against India was 152-0. That was Babar Riz playing under Saki. Saki was the coach. That was the longest tenured coach we've had. And that was the max stability we've seen. As soon as Saki went away, we got new coaches, revolving door, new board presidents, and the team is just derailed. And that happens. It doesn't happens only in Pakistan or West Indies, but it happens. And when it happens, it reflects in team performances, right? So there's no surprise that they're playing all this musical chair. Like Hafiz was on a show and Hafiz was saying, 2 weeks into my gig as a cricket director, everybody was listening to me. The third week they weren't because there were political changes in Pakistan and the boys knew that he's going to go. So they're like, we don't care. Like, we're not going to listen. They started pushing back. So you hear these stories now, but you see it when the board changes. Like if your CEO changes, CFO changes every 2 weeks, you're not going to be motivated to work. You're not motivated to be the best employee. I think we can put a really good team together to compete with India. India can put together 3 very good teams to beat Pakistan. We can only put a good 11, maybe 12 together. Other countries right now, even Bangladesh can put together a minimum 24-guy squad, जिसमें you can get 2 teams out of them, especially in T20 or white ball cricket. We're facing Bangladesh in a couple of days.
Well, the way Bangladesh got 3 down against New Zealand, I'll be honest, as a Pakistan fan, I got my hopes up. I was like, Kudrat ka Nizam is back at play. Bangladesh will somehow beat New Zealand. And Pakistan will somehow on net run rate, kuch na kuch karke, will somehow make it to the semi-finals. But then,
यार उसमें भी अच्छा हुआ कि we've been knocked out,
Thank
right?
God, dude.
Because what
This
happens
torture's
is
over.
that when not just the torture, but if you truly want Pakistan cricket to improve, we can't be going through to the playoffs or the semi-finals by this Kudrat ke Nizam nonsense, because it hides a lot of ills that we have in our team and our setup, right? So jitna ganda expose ho, you can only hope कि improvement इसी से आएगी. Just to build on Danish's point,
Sir G.
यार एक ही चीज मैं बोलूंगा, आपने Gary Kirsten, one of the best white ball coaches, right? आप literally समझे you basically won a lottery, and somehow Gary Kirsten, let go of his really lucrative IPL gig, Gujarat Titans or whoever he was coaching. वो छोड़ के पाकिस्तान आया, and you managed to f that up as well. And a team that does that, and then we replaced him with freaking Akib Javed, the worst PSL coach that we've had. जिस बंदे को हम सब ने टीवी पे देखा है, उसका मुंह खुलता है और आपको पता है कि this guy is trouble, right? Toxicity, सारी बस टीम जो है वो वाइब्स पे चलती है और basically एक PR exercise है उसका पूरा. The fact that the cricket board decided to let Gary go and bring Akib Javed, हम यही deserve करते हैं. Jason Gillespie miraculously, again agrees to, उसका Adelaide Strikers और ऑस्ट्रेलिया में ठीक ठाक सेटअप चल रहा है, उसको इज्जत मिलती है and what not. And then पहले आप जेसन गिलेस्पी को इस तरह जलील करते हैं कि आप उसको कहते हैं कि तुम कोच हो लेकिन सिर्फ मैच डे कोच. मैच डे स्ट्रेटेजिस्ट का मतलब बेसिकली है कि भाई ये 15 है, इसमें तुम्हें कोई इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होगा, तुम नहीं बता सकते what 15 to select, right? This is the captain, these are the players, this is the group that you have to work with. तुम सिर्फ ऑन मैच डे शायद कैप्टन के साथ डिसाइड कर लो कि प्लेइंग 11 क्या होगी और आज हमें बैट फर्स्ट करना चाहिए या बॉल फर्स्ट करना चाहिए, और इस तरह की बेसिकली आपने उसको बेचारे की रोल को इतना डिवैल्यू कर दिया कि उसने भी कहा यार, उसके बाद उसके जो बैटिंग कोच था या जो भी वो अपने साथ टीम लेकर आया था, आपने उसको बगैर बताए उसकी टीम को भी फारिग करना शुरू कर दिया. सो आई गेस व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट this is just a culmination of all of the mess ups that we've done and the mismanagement. Like you couldn't even try to be this bad, right? Like 2024 T20 World Cup that we had in the US last year, मतलब कोई जान के भी चाहता ना कि आओ मैं पाकिस्तान टीम को mess up करता हूँ, वो भी शायद इतना अच्छा प्लान नहीं बनाता जितना इन्होंने बनाया, right? I mean, you bring Amir and Imad Wasim back from retirement out of nowhere. You know that they're just taking their retirement back because there's no league going on in the world, so they don't really care about NOCs and whatnot. And we all knew the writing was on the wall that after the World Cup they'll re-retire and then start playing cricket all over the world. Then you made Shaheen captain, and then you brought Babar back, and then
Also, like,
it's such a disaster, right? So I mean, I guess I'd really like us to just talk about the last 2 games that we've had rather than go back, because again this could be like a season of podcasts in itself.
but there's nothing new in those 2 games. Like, we've got the same dot ball issue. We've got the same guys who are worried about their spots because things are changing, and it's like the bowling is still average. Everyone's saying this, which is probably true, and I didn't realize it. But when they say things like It's the same bowlers who've gone to 4 ICC or 3 ICC tournaments, won you nothing, semi-final in one, और वहां पे भी जाके आप freeze हो गए कोहली के सामने. And fair, Kohli's amazing and Kohli's
Hmm.
like the god of cricket or whatever. But you can't consistently be failing against Kohli.
The thing that I struggle with is, even if you look at the length that Shaheen bowled, he was looking for that perfect viral moment कि यार कोई इन स्विंगिंग यॉर्कर आ जाए तो मेरी आईसीसी वीडियो डाल दे और
यार वो तो हम
you know
क्लब
मुझे
में सोचते हैं. आई डोंट
it's
थिंक वो
literally, you
इंटरनेशनल
know,
लेवल पे.
but I you'd be surprised, because how else would you justify one fast bowler adamant on bowling 3 Yorkers in an over with the new ball when you know that the pitch is slow and you should probably bring the pitch into play. आपने pitch को equation से ही हटा दिया और आप यॉर्कर पे यॉर्कर करा रहे हैं और वो एक आपको 2 चौके कवर पे मार रहे हैं, एक स्क्वायर लेग पे मार रहा है, फिर वो आपको चार्ज करके मिड ऑन के ऊपर से मार रहा है. It was frankly just embarrassing, the fact that if this was the plan, it was a terrible plan. And then if Shaheen has gone himself and decided to bowl these crazy lengths, and yes, he got an amazing wicket of Rohit Sharma, but at what cost? The guy went at 9 and over, 8.5 or 9 and over, which is honestly ridiculous on a Dubai pitch.
वकार साइड इसको कम पड़े.
या जैसी बॉलिंग थी.
आप रिजवान को क्रिटिसाइज कर सकते हैं कैप्टनसी, बट तुम्हारा स्टार प्रीमियर फास्ट बॉलर एज ही कॉल्स हिमसेल्फ जो है वो इतनी गंदी लेंथ पे करा रहा है कि व्हाट कैन अ कैप्टन डू एट दैट पॉइंट, राइट?
The dressing room guys were also saying that he didn't bowl enough bouncers or any bouncers at all. So he wasn't challenging them.
बाउंसर भी मैं नहीं कहता यार, आप बैक ऑफ अ गुड लेंथ कराएं, इन स्विंग आउट स्विंग करें, something that even Harshit Rana, who's played maybe 2 or 3 games, they were consistently hitting a length. You have to be patient as a fast bowler, right? Salman Butts actually said it best. He said it literally, if you look at his pitch map, it feels like he's bowling in a tape ball match, जहाँ पे आप जो है वो यॉर्करे कराते हैं to so the batsman cannot get under you, right, or under the ball. It was, I think, Naseem bowled really, really well, right? Naseem was hitting a much better length, and you could tell that, he was challenging the outside edge and the inside edge, and India was really struggling to play their strokes, but it didn't matter because the guy at the other end was going at 9 and over. What should have happened was both of these bowlers hitting a good line, starve them for runs, get the asking rate above 6, 6.5, and
Yeah.
then your Abrars and your spinners can also make an impact, because Abhi India played out Abrar for 27-28 for 1 wicket because they didn't have to take any chances against him. At no point did we put any scorecard pressure because we were just frankly leaking runs. किसी भी कोच से किसी भी उससे पूछ ले और सब यही कहेंगे यार अपने डिसिप्लिन, अपनी लाइन और लेंथ, और अगर तुम चौका ऑफ साइड पे भी खा रहे हो, लेग पे भी खा रहे हो, सीधा भी खा रहे हो, तो ये तुम्हारा मसला है. Especially when the ball is swinging. He
Yeah,
was
but
getting
these
the ball
guys
to swing.
don't come across as people who are looking for mentors, people who are looking for like who's there to guide Akib Javed, Azhar
But
Mahmood as a bowling coach. But there's no mentors, there's nothing. It doesn't seem like these guys are listening or want to listen to anybody.
but Shine's been playing since 2018.
And he hasn't grown. We spoke about this last year. Same ही ball किया जा रहा है भाई. His key is still like bringing the ball in, and he will do 6 of those. How many will he get out? The surprise element's gone, bro. एक बार हो गया Sharma. You've got KL Rahul once. That's it, bro. Shubman Gill was playing him for fun. He has a good
Yeah.
game. We're like, oh, Shaheen's back. India did not even talk about Bumrah. Did anyone
Yeah.
speak about Bumrah?
I don't think he came up once in commentary. I
I've
saw the
not
entire
heard his
game.
name.
The other thing is, आपको बुमराह को देखने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. India, like, I just look at Mohammad Amir and how amazing he is to adapt to conditions. All it takes for that guy is 1 or 2 balls और उसको पता चल जाता है कि कितनी swing है, क्या length मारनी है, क्या करना है. And unfortunately, Shaheen just doesn't have that feel for the game जहाँ पे उसको फौरन से पता चल जाता है कि यार इस पिच में मुझे ये करना है और मुझे इस बैट्समैन के साथ ये करना है. It just feels like his plans for every batsman are basically the same. I'm just gonna come in, ball full, hope that it's not a full toss, नीचे गिरे थोड़ी सी late in swing or out. I mean, again, guys, like the ball that he bowled to Rohit Sharma was a dream dismissal, right? Like it was an amazing ball, especially because Sharma was set. 20 पे खेल रहा था. He'd already hit 2 sixes, and he was batting really well. But it just came at a huge price, right?
Yeah.
Again, like it's inexcusable that your premier fast bowler is going at 8 or 9 runs in over. This is
If you look at the Pakistani bowling attack, the way Shaheen bowled, the way Haris bowled, the way Naseem bowled, like the equivalent of that in international cricket would be you look at the West Indies bowling attack and you'll be like, yeah, these guys do the same thing, like keep hitting the same thing, and like they're not really thinking much, they're going by vibes. You
Yeah.
don't look at an Australian attack and go like, Yeah, they keep doing the same thing again, same plan for every. You don't look at even New Zealand now, not even Bangladesh, man. Pakistan basically had three fast bowlers, frontline fast bowlers in this squad where we wanted to defend the Champions Trophy and win it. Three frontline fast bowlers who were half-baked, basically. One of them from an abdomen strain, another one knee injury, jiska is the action's not sorted. The third guy cannot throw and probably needs a little bit more rest and time out of the game and rehab to be at full pace. The fourth guy was Naseem Shah, Hasnan,
Hasnan.
who wasn't going to get a game because he's just come back out of form. He's played 2 or 3 games for Pakistan. Fifth seamer was Fahim.
There are 2 players in the Pakistan squad, in a squad of 15, which is not a lot of resources. 2 लोगों को आप खिलाने को तैयार ही नहीं है. एक उस्मान खान, I don't know why they selected him, right? मतलब आप अगेन ये सिर्फ ये बात देखो कि उस्मान खान को उन्होंने एज अ बैकअप ओपनर खिलाया रखा स्क्वाड में. The guy was not on the plane to Australia. He was not on the plane to South Africa. He didn't even go to
The
Zimbabwe.
Tri-Nation.
Tri-Nation में तो खिलाया ही नहीं, but he didn't even go to Zimbabwe जहाँ पे आपने पहले ही अपनी second string team भेजी थी. He has not played a single ODI for Pakistan, right? He's only played T20 cricket. So आपने randomly कहीं से लाके उस्मान खान को लिया और फिर जब उसकी बारी आई क्योंकि आपका ओपनर इंजर्ड हुआ, आपने बाहर के बंदे को लाके उसको खिला दिया और इस बेचारे को नहीं खिलाया.
You're bringing Imam after 150 or 200 in a 4-day game. Bro, how are you expecting this guy to come out of a 4-day game then suddenly switch to like playing at 150 strike rate? Like that's also not going to happen overnight.
He also made it 98, run a ball 98 against South Africa in the warm-up game. My issue is not with Imam and whether he was ready to play. It was more like, what's the thought process behind this? या तो आपने उस्मान खान को सेलेक्ट गलत किया, right?
Right, left.
या आप राइट या ये राइट लेफ्ट जो हम अपनी
यही
लीग में
है.
करते हैं, हाँ, क्योंकि शमी ने तो कभी राइट लेफ्ट को कराया ही नहीं है.
Bro, this is right left. Like you look at the combination, there's no reason to bring in Imam when Usman is there. Okay,
Yeah.
not made his ODI debut, but the guy
Yeah.
is more attacking than a Bobby and an Imam. You want to take the attack to India, this is what you do.
I read somewhere the only reason we were successful in South Africa was because of Saim. Saim was the X factor in this team because as soon as he's out of the team, आपकी पूरी batting expose हो गई.
The combination with Saim was much better. Saim can be the only driving factor, but the combination was much better. The wickets were very different. South Africa was more true. There was no stopping thing. Balls were coming onto the bat, and these guys could play their shots. So when the situation, the wicket's slower, the paces don't work as well. Spinners come into the game, and you only play one frontline spinner, and Saim goes out with the whole combination out of the window. That makes things difficult. So Saim's not the only reason we won, but it helped with the combination, and the wickets and grounds definitely helped in that situation, right? If we played South Africa in Dubai, we may not have won 3-0.
I think it's probably less to do with conditions. It's more how Pakistan completely gets overawed by world events and the big stage. I think Saim is a great player. He's probably my favorite player, but मेरा ख्याल है the reason why we've underperformed is because we just become so tame at big stages. Like if you look at again, I want to go back and look at the 2024 T20 World Cup. When we played against USA in a T20 game, वहां पर भी हम 5 और 6 रन पर ओवर पे खेल रहे थे T20 में. वहां पर भी हाथ लग रहा था कांप रहे हैं क्योंकि इनको इतना डर था हारने से. If you look at the 2023 50 World Cup, our first game was against the Netherlands. वहां पर भी अल्लाह करके हमने 280 कर लिए थे, वरना शुरू में बिल्कुल इतने अंडर प्रेशर थे कि स्ट्राइक रोटेट भी नहीं हो रही थी. So there is obviously a huge gap and issue of boys showing up in high pressure situations. I don't know if it's fear of failure. I don't know if it's the pressure that the media builds. I don't know if it's the Iffy Bhais and the Vasis of the world. I genuinely cannot explain why players like Babar Azam, who are so talented, the world raves about how amazing he can be and he is, completely not show up at big events. So I think it's beyond just conditions and our strengths and weaknesses. I think there is a big issue where pressure इनसे handle नहीं हो पा रहा.
But outside noise भी है ना यार Farooq. Like you look at the US World Cup, that's when they brought in Amir Imad. They just made Babar captain, Shaheen se captaincy वापस लेके. So now Babar's in there.
Yeah.
He's timid because he's like, I gotta save my spot. I gotta prove myself that I'm still scoring runs as a captain.
Yeah.
I've got 2 guys that have blasted me on TV openly. That happens, and you get into this World Cup. You've got Aqib Javed as a coach, basically a disaster. Then interim coach Aqib Javed, who picks a squad. Which, by the way, I've not met a single person who said that this squad, putting Pakistan bias aside, has said that this squad can make it to the top 4. So even like people like
we said it last
playing
week.
like Division 4
We
cricket
said it
in the
last
most
week
remote.
that they will make it to the
Yeah,
top 4 with
like-
the squad.
Most, but that's because with the
Yeah.
bias, right? But outside of that, no one would have given these guys a chance because this squad has so many holes. So guys playing in the squad, guys in the squad know that there's holes.
I think there's one positive. Pakistan played 161 dots against New Zealand in 47.2 overs. But against India, Pakistan played 147 dots in 49.4 overs. So I think things are looking better already.
Inshallah, in 10 years, we will play no
And
dots.
so if you look at both the games combined, we played one game fully as dot balls. How can you win in 2025 in modern day cricket if you're playing half the innings as dot balls?
So when Ahmed Shahzad had just made a comeback, I think this was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we would talk about how Ahmed Shahzad is not rotating strike. We're like, what is this 6 of 24 balls? How does he play so many dots? I think it was Bradburn who would come in as coach, and he said our focus has been that no one plays more than 3 or 4 dot balls in a row in the nets. Every 3 balls, there's got to be a single. So this conversation's been going on for 3-4 years. Yet 3-4 years down the line, we have played 2 games in a major ICC tournament at home where one full game has been dot balls.
I don't think any of us are saying that these players should be written off. They're still highly skilled, and they're definitely the best options that we have. I don't think our cricket needs an overhaul. I think the overhaul needs to come in our board, in our team management. I think the personnel themselves. I still think Babar will have a great career, and I still think that Rizwan will be a great captain. I just feel that we need to almost model ourselves after New Zealand. Not current day New Zealand, because current day New Zealand has a lot of talent at their disposal, but New Zealand from like 10, 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago, they were always like average and mediocre, like from a talent perspective. Like you never looked at the New Zealand team and you're like, oh, why did he fare them? But for some reason, they always made it to like a semi-final or the final of the World Cup. I think we need to take, a few pages out of New Zealand's playbook where we make sure that we manage every player really well. We always get our tactics on point. We give players the right opportunity. We don't treat players like a conveyor belt where, ये नहीं चला तो इसको फेंक के दूसरे को ले आओ, ये नहीं चला एक मैच के बाद उसको निकालो, right? We need to have some consistency in our selection, but then really model ourselves after like a New Zealand where, they really found a way to have the resources work really hard for them and be very, very competitive, at least in world events. I think that's what we need to do in the short-term future, and then hope that, the PSL throws out some breakaway star or whatnot, जिस पे आप rely करके, अब बड़े tournaments में semi-final या final से आप victory की तरफ जा सकते हैं.
Will this actually happen?
Of course not. पागल है.
Well, you can plan yourself, you can, model yourself on a New Zealand team from 10, 15 years ago, because New Zealand from 1992 has been, or 90s, has been a phenomenal planning team. Like they plan really well. Like they can get the best guys out because they have a plan to it. Like the spell against Pakistan, right? Like Babar and Riz are batting, and then they've got these 3 guys. They've got the backward point, and they've got the cover guy, and standing in from the circle, right? And every ball is good length outside off. So drive me, cut me, whatever you want to do. And these are just small things. Like all the balls were going to the fielders. So that means a lot of planning. We barely believe in matchups, man. Our one guy who believes in matchups, Shadaf Khan, would like, oh, he should be captain because he does play modern cricket. Who's the other guy? Bichara Mohammad Haris, no one's even talking about him. Literally the only guy who has a reverse sweep to a fast bowler. You've got one batsman in Pakistan who's doing that. A reverse sweep to a fast bowler, which someone played to Umar Gul. When Umar Gul ko retired away, there's been many years. I can't remember who is what, but there's some guy, now I can't. I just know Omar got smashed, but it's been happening for so many years. So we're so behind that we don't believe in planning. It'll still be like vibes. Or जो भी
And
board का president होगा या वो आपका chairman होगा, will get his guy in, and that's the unfortunate part about this.
and Danish, you brought up Mohammad Haris. He's someone that's very close to my heart. उसको जिस तरह mismanage किया है PCB ने, that in itself is a case study, right? बंदा आता है 2021 या 22 के World Cup में, he sets the world stage on fire, sweeping ramping Anrik Nokia for a 6 in Sydney and whatnot. And, everyone's raving about him. Matthew Hayden, our batting consultant, is saying, this guy is the next big thing in Pakistan cricket and whatnot. फिर आप उसको ODI में चांस देते हैं और 4 या 5 पे आउट ऑफ पोजीशन बैटिंग कराते हैं, एंड द गाय फेल्स इन द ODIs और फिर उसको T20 से भी ड्रॉप कर देते हैं. It's just a classic example of how we ruin talent in our country.
Because if you go back, T20, we only wanted to open with Babar and Rizwan. You needed a Saim. You needed a Saim to break that partnership and to be like, no, modern day cricket is different. And I feel bad for Haris because now he's playing for Shaheen and he's batting at 4 because he thinks that's where he's going to bat for Pakistan. 4, 5 is not his number because you keep bowling slow bowlers, you keep bowling spinners. He's trying to develop his game against spin. वहां पे जो उसका actual skill set था where he can come in, take the new ball on against the fast bowlers, you've completely destroyed the guy and gone like, no, become a spin basher.
Why is he proving that he can open?
Because Farhan, he knows that he's competing with Rizwan and Babar. And now Simon,
that's what Ahmed Shahzad says, right? The Tola.
Nah, Tola, like, again, to be fair to the Tola, like, they have won us games. But Sohaib Maqsood, who, you know, we have practiced with, and I consider a little bit of friend of ours. Hopefully he can be on the podcast soon. He made a really good point. He basically said, जब तक ये दोनों open करें, आपका middle order बन ही नहीं सकता. Because in most games, they use up, 70-80% of the innings. And then your expectation is कि कोई middle order में आके पहली बॉल से घुमाना शुरू करते. That's just not how it works. Especially in a country like Pakistan, जहाँ पे लोग देखते अरे यार इसने 3 गेम मिले इसने 3 फेलियर है इसको निकालो. वो ये नहीं देख रहे कि बंदा आउट ऑफ पोजीशन बैट कर रहा है या किस सिनेरियो में वो आ रहा है. So again, Haris is someone that, you know, we've tried really hard to screw up. I just hope that, you know, he doesn't lose faith in the system because it's very likely that the guy can say, F this shit, I'm going to the US. Yeah. Right? मैं अमेरिका जा रहा हूँ, वहाँ मुझे PR कार्ड भी मिल जाएगा, वहाँ मैं लीग क्रिकेट भी खेलूंगा. Maybe I can be eligible for the IPL. Not that, you know, he can make it to the IPL yet. But it just opens up so many more avenues for these players from a learning perspective. Because if you put yourself in their shoes, like, why would you want to deal with the of the world, right? जिनका कुछ पता ही नहीं है कि किसी दिन वो आकिब जावेद को गैरी कर्स्टन से रिप्लेस कर दें या किसी दिन वो हमारे पास फास्ट बॉलिंग के 2 कोच हैं हमारे पास, अजहर महमूद और आकिब जावेद, और बैटिंग का कोच हमारे पास है कोई रैंडम अंकल शाहिद असलम, जिनको मैं हमेशा देख रहा हूँ, जिनको सिर्फ थ्रो डाउन्स कराने आते हैं, राइट? तो यही मैं इतना रिग्रेसिव टीम मैनेजमेंट और सेटअप है कि it is very, you know, possible that players, highly skilled players like Mohammad Haris can just say, screw the system, यार, I'm out. I have like finite number of years. मेरे पास 8, 10, 12 साल का करियर है. मैं जाता हूँ कि क्रिकेट खेलता हूँ. यहाँ पे तो मुझे मौका भी मिलता है तो 4 या 5 में मिलता है जो मेरा नंबर. I would have Shadab Khan in the squad and in the team. You know, people speak really highly of him. Shadab is probably the best cricketer in Pakistan on paper. Field pe, unfortunately, is significantly underperformed. But I think from everything that I've read and seen, apparently Shadab is bowling pretty decent. He had a pretty good outing in the warm-up game as well. And you just back people like Shadab to come good in ICC events.
I'll play Shadab any day of the week, and Shadab's a good, really good number 4 as well. Like if you have a start like the one you had against New Zealand, send Shadab in at number 4. He'll get you a quick power 50, right?
And then the other thing about Shadab's batting as well is that we know how average we are against spin bowling. Shadab is one guy that can really take spin bowling on, right? So
Shadab's batting is really underrated. I think it's because he came in as a spinner. Shadab's good enough to be batting in from anywhere from 4 to 6 in the team that we played this World Cup.
Especially against a team like New Zealand, to your point, Michael Bracewell आता, he would have easily taken him on, right? कोई इसके लिए मसला ही नहीं था. एक टांग पे बैठ के वो उसको mid wicket और long on पे छक्के मारता.
To me, he's a complete batsman, dude. A guy can slog sweep, reverse sweep, pull, cut, सब कर रहा है यार. And Shadab ka, the biggest thing is he's also hashtag Dimag se, right? So this whole crew, look at Salman Agha. Salman Agha, when he was in Qalandars, garbage. Moves to Islamabad United, flourishes, man. So and he's the one guy in this team who's got max intent. Like doesn't get bogged down. Even his test match cricket is, you know, if he's scoring a 80, it's off 100 balls or 90 balls. It's not an 80 of 170 balls. So that intent thing, you can see it in Islamabad, guys.
The other guy that no one's talking about is Nawaz. I know that Nawaz has had some issues again on big stages where he's kind of choked under pressure. But Nawaz was a great selection from Mohammad Wasim. जब वो उसको लेकर आया, like Nawaz with the bat, Nawaz with the ball. Yes, he had a difficult World T20 in Australia because finger spinners का बहुत मुश्किल है unless you're a Ravi Ashwin. I do feel that Nawaz was one cricketer that added a lot of balance. Finishing भी अच्छी करता था और फिर middle overs में भी आप उसको promote करके आगे भेज सकते हैं as well. Like people should be talking more about Nawaz as well.
I think Nawaz's form is just completely gone. Even 4-day cricket, he didn't get much.
I think Nawaz and Shadab are both rightly out of the team based on their past performances. But because we don't have any suitable replacements. और क्या कर सकते हैं? Right?
Yeah.
You need all rounders. You cannot have your tail start at number 7. But more importantly, you absolutely need 5 bowlers in this in the ODI format with the new field restrictions. So you just don't have options in your country. जहाँ पे आप you can हमारे पास एक luxury हो कि इतने all rounder हैं that we can choose which ones to take. That's why I'm like, again, want to build on Shadab. Like Shadab's performance has been garbage. एक और domestic tournament जब भी हुआ था जिसमें Shadab number 8 पे बैटिंग कर रहा था, bowling करा ही नहीं रहा था, and he was captain. The form probably doesn't merit it. Yes, he did well in one of the warm-up games, but they're rightly out the team based on performance. It's just that option ही नहीं है, तो खिलाओ फिर इनको यार, और क्या कर सकते हैं?
Yeah, other thing, if we had
Amir
a
Jamal.
good pace bowling all-rounder
Jamal.
at number 7, I thought about Jamal, but his batting is not.
No,
as
apparently
good.
he's not fit. Apparently he's not fit.
He was playing in South Africa.
Oh, he's not, because he made
Yeah.
that post after he
No.
announced the team.
What I don't know where I heard this, but it was on some YouTube channel. It seemed pretty credible that they're not happy with his bowling match fitness. I think South Africa.
So he was bowling like mid-low 130s or whatever.
And he
He
bowled
did,
garbage.
and he
in that
also
test
had
against South Africa
804
as well.
on his floppy. I don't know if you've seen that picture. So anything can happen. Thank you, Farooq. Thank you, Danish. Thank you for joining. See you next time.
Game
Game
on.
on.